Good morning. A few of you showed up, and since I looked back here, did you sneak in the back? Yes, yeah. So happy to see you here today. We're continuing on with the eye of the storm, and so many of you are in our book studies, and we have at least 6 groups going, just about one every night, and over 60 of us really going deep with this beautiful work. So thank you for joining me in this. And I know it's not an easy read. I know it's not. And I've been reading it for years, and I'm still a student of it, you know. And so this is what it invites us into. It's a deep learning. I want you to hear that I'm not saying that, skip to Maluma darling, we're just going to do this and it's a lifetime, yes? Of revealing. So the book says, no one and nothing is against you. This is absolute truth. You may not believe it now. You may have a lifetime of evidence to the contrary. But until you realize that the entire universe is for you, you may never experience your wholeness and the truth of your being, of your worthiness. So the purpose of this book is to awaken you to the truth that there's only one presence and one power active in the universe and in your life. The infinite, living, loving presence of Spirit. And that this presence and power lives in you as the Spirit of God. And so for this reason, no one and nothing can be against you. To realize this is to claim your divine inheritance. To claim our divine inheritance of why and how we came here as the incarnate of the beloved. Which is a huge idea, yes? Yeah. I know that it's not an easy thing, and I know that it's always, always, always a good idea to be compassionate, to be loving, and to honor and be with all of the beautiful souls that are in our life. But in truth, we have a lot in common, even those that we struggle with. And we all fall. We all belch. We all go to the bathroom, right? We all are here as humans. We all put our head down on a pillow and sometimes weep. But we also have tools to get us through these human struggles. Yes? Yes. And that's why we want to come to communities like this, is to say, I'm sort of done with the pain and suffering. I'd like to a way through some of these human challenges. So if you think you don't have these tools, I'm here to tell you you do. That you are here to be an expression of the one. That you are here with divine qualities to be awake just as Jesus did. Now he became fully realized. I hope you and I do that in this embodiment. Yes? Yes, that's the goal. But if not, we'll just keep coming back until we get it right. But really all we know is we have this one precious life. That's all we really know. That we've been given this one. Let's not wait till the next one. What do you say? Let's do it this time. Yeah. So that is the purpose of this book. And there's a beautiful book also for teens. I don't know if some of you know that. And I feel like sometimes I'm starting over again and again. I need to go back to basic teachings a lot of the times. And so if you have youngsters, that there's a book for them, the adolescents. So this story is useful. It's about this train. And this train has 2 engines, and it's crossing over the countryside. And after it's gone some distance, one of the engines fail and breaks down. So the engineer says, no problem. I can carry us with this other engine that I have. And so a little further down the road, the second engine breaks down. So this time he knows that he's got to tell the people what's happening. So he gets on that little microphone he loves, and he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, I have some good news and I have some bad news. The bad news is that we have lost both of our engines, and so we're going to be stopped here for a while until we can get those fixed. The good news is that you are not in an airplane." Isn't that the best? Yeah. It's what we need to do is laugh at this life that sometimes feels impossible to get through. And so the good news is that this is not the only day or the only time you read this book that you'll have an opportunity to awaken. We keep getting them over and over. And it's wonderful. And so I am challenged with this work as well. And one of the facilitators came to me this week and just said, "Okay, I'm struggling. I'm not getting some of this stuff. How in the world can it be true that no one and nothing is against me? What about here and what about there?" And, And I said, "Yeah, I know. It's really a challenge to see that. And typically when we're in these difficult challenges, and especially traumatic ones, from 0 to 10, if it's an 8 to 10 level of intensity, it's not going to be an easy road to really get that. In fact, we're never going to get it at that level of understanding." And he says, "Well, I want to make sure that this truth is true, whether, this is happening or that is happening." And the reality is this truth is always true. It just depends on where we are in consciousness, whether we can see it. Yes? Yeah. So when we're below the line and we're living in that sense of separation, then that's what we're going to see. And there's nothing anyone can say or do to make us change our minds. Yes? Yes. So it's always, always consciousness. So, Jesus, Nicodemus came to Jesus, and Jesus said, "You must, in order to enter into the kingdom, you must be born again. You must go through the womb." No, you must be born through spirit. You must have the eyes of the saints. You must see with a new vision and not the same consciousness in which it got you there. So we're looking at above the line as the co-creation of heaven. There's harmony and peace and cooperation and joy and connection and communion. And below the line is where we suffer. And it's mostly separation, the illusion of that we're separate, that someone has harmed us or done us wrong. And it isn't until we're actually able to rise up to see the world in a different way that we can see that life circumstances are for us. But I think it's been said by many master teachers, we can't solve the level of the problem at the level of consciousness. We can't solve the problem at the level of the problem. That we have to look higher. So that's what this book is teaching us, that we all have evidence of how people and things and circumstances are against us. And that's sort of the easy street. But the higher teachings that Jesus came to teach us is this one, that no one and nothing is against us. And that's going to be a slow road, yes? That we may take a couple of boats in order to make it to the edge. So that's my prayer for us. The grace prayer is reveal what needs to be revealed, heal what needs to be healed, so that I can glorify you, God. And glorifying God isn't something out there. Glorifying God is to say, this presence and power, this one presence and power is in me. What do I need in this moment to align with that truth? How do I stay present to life when I have forgotten who I am? And for those who came to the first workshop that we did on the Eye of the Storm, we made a card. Remember the card? And we had all these beautiful qualities of who we've come here to be, which was brilliant and beautiful and peaceful, creative, strong and courageous, loving. And then the other side of the card is who we're not, which is alone and frightened and worried and separated and afraid, not good enough. So many of those little shadowy thinking. And unfortunately, a lot of us have those. So that's how life can be against who we're not. But this is not an easy teaching. So one of the things I got to see recently is a sweet little video about a father, with his young child, and he was busy, trying to do what we do as parents. And he just needed his son to sort of sit down and be quiet for a while so he could do what he needed to do. And so he gave him something to do, and he found this picture, and it was a picture of the world and a lot of things around the world, and it's sort of a complicated picture. And he tore it up in little pieces, and he said, so son, put this together, and then I'll come back, and we'll finish it together. So he went off to do what he did, and the son looked at the pieces, and he noticed on the other side was a picture just of a man's face. So he began to put all the pieces together and tape them all and ran them over to his father, and he said, "Here it is, Dad." And his dad was disappointed because he was hoping for a lot longer time to do what he really needed to do, right? And so he said, "How did you do that so fast?" And he said, "Well, I just put together this man and the world came together." Yes? So when we are together, our world comes together. So sometimes we're trying to piece it together out here, right? So when everything gets in line to the way that I think it should be, and when everyone acts according to my desire, then I'll be peaceful. But the work is always where? Inside. It's always here. That I need a shift in my perception. I love to kayak, and I used to have a kayak called Perception. So I'd say, I'm going to go get a shift in my perception by taking it out of my kayak. But it's so true. So the eye of the storm is about storms and how we interact with the world, the external conditions of life. And becoming the I am that is not disturbed by anything outside of ourselves, that we live in the circumference, we live in the center of life, the center of I am, where the divine is shining down through us, our vertical awareness of the one, so that we may be in this horizontal presence of the world, right? So be in the world, but not of the world. Be in the world, but not of the world. Do not believe in the illusion of separation. That I am always, always with you. I am always, always guiding you. But the conditions of the storm, you might recognize ourselves there. So the conditions of the storm, or the first one is separation. So for whatever reason that we disconnect with what we're having as our life experience, we inadvertently push the situation away, or we need to be right. One of my favorites. Or we have to have things a certain way, and we disconnect from our experience when it's not that way. And whenever we disconnect from our experience, we're creating an arena that supports a storm in our life, because we're now a separate sense of self. This is the suffering one. The second idea of the conditions to the perfect storm is a misperception. So as we look at our capacity to really see life, we really don't have the perceptual capacity to see life as it really is. We see life as we are. Yes? Yes, that we are always looking through life through our own filters. That there's no way not to. So we have this BS in us called a belief system. I didn't say that word, so I'm good. But that belief system got created sometimes when we weren't in our whole and perfect place. And that is the shadowy thinking that supports us to be who we're not. So we see life not as it is, but we see from our view, our perspective, and that's how a misperception can happen. And then the third is a competition that in relationship we often compete with getting our needs met. And have you ever needed to be right or needed to be seen in a certain way or to have to control another person in order to feel whole? Yeah. Everyone should be saying yes, right? That's the human condition. And that's for us to sort of go, that hasn't worked so well. What am I needing to heal in order to feel my own wholeness? And then the fourth one is about defensiveness. Defensiveness is sort of this psychophysical posture we get into whenever we're in an experience that seems it's against us, that we tighten our bodies. There is a resistance to what is, we clench our teeth. We might even make a fist. Oh, see, I was noticing I'm just making a fist. We're sort of resisting. We just want to punch it out, right? Yeah. I'm the only one. You're good. Oh, good. I needed that. Thank you. So we say, this is why it's against me, because I feel so bad. And in reality, we feel so bad because we're resisting what is. Yes? That's what feels so bad, is the resistance in us. And it doesn't mean that we don't need to be sometimes in that postured place, especially if we are in physical danger. We need that. But we can overuse that muscle, right? That we begin to use that even in the seeming awareness of some enemy that we created. Remember the story about the snake on the floor and how magically, once we surrender, it becomes a rope rather than the snake on the floor. So as we understand that the eye of the storm is really about being present to the conditions of the storm, becoming aware of how we are being with what we're having. That's what we're doing here. We can also understand that it's not our first intention to make the conflict go away. We want to, don't we? We just will do sometimes anything for that pain to go away because it's so uncomfortable. But we want to be able to be present to the experience of our own disconnect and to understand how we have co-created the storm. Yes? Yes. So that's the courage it takes, right? To be in relationship with those that feel like they might be against us. And so we are in this egoic operating system most of the time. And that's not natural and normal. So this work is inviting us out of the conditioned mind, out of the conditioned state, that something is happening to us. So as we evolve in consciousness, we move from life is happening to me to life is happening through me. And eventually we get to life is happening as me. Yes? Yes. So we're all moving there, and we know this, and so we just want to take notice when we're still living life is happening to me, the victim state, right? To move out of that place. Life is happening through me when I can accept who and what I am. So relationships are so juicy and wonderful in the arena of our experience of our wholeness and worth. They're also one of the hardest places we deal with our sense of not enough and our sense of separation. Yes? Yeah. It would be very easy to go on the mountaintop and just wake up and enlighten and everybody agrees with you because you're all alone, right? But we are here to work this through. That there is a paradox happening, that we can find the comfort in the discomfort. We can find the peace in the chaos. We can find the love in the hatred. We can be the presence that is needed for transformation. Transforming lives and inspiring people to make a positive difference in the world. That's why we're here. Yes? That's exciting. That's what gets me up on Sundays and each day. Because Jesus said we must be born from above. We must come into this world fully prayed up and fully in above the line in order to deal with all this below the line activity. We cannot meet it at the same level it's happening. So that is our work. There's a beautiful symbol the Chinese use in Aikido, I believe it is. And it's about communion, and it's about listening. But communion it means our connection with the divine. It's a union with the one. It's also that our relationship is all about our relationship to God. Whether we're talking about our relationship to life, to one another, or to self. It's all one. Those are just sub-arenas of the one idea, the one presence. But it expresses through life, through each other, and through ourselves. And that is the communion we seek. And so the symbol that the Chinese use for connection, for listening, is a threefold symbol. And the first one is a symbol of the heart and the ear, is that it's encouraging us to listen with our heart and not our head. The head loves to evaluate or judge or criticize whatever it needs to do to make itself right or compare, loves that comparing thing. But the heart just knows infinite intelligence and love and connection. The heart wants to connect to the other soul that is also the divine. The second symbol is one of paying attention. That this idea of deep listening is paying attention, that I'm fully present to you. I'm fully listening to what you have to say, and I'm not waiting for you to finish so you can hear how brilliant my story is. Don't we do that? We're listening, and something gets stimulated, and we think of another story, and we just can't wait for them to be quiet so we could tell our brilliance. So that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about being fully present to what we're hearing and being willing to be changed by what we hear. And the third symbol is two streams flowing together. So the idea of this deep listening is connecting with another, not needing to be right, but needing to connect with them. So we have listening with the heart, we have paying attention, being present in this moment, this holy moment. And we have these two streams flowing together. How is it that I could flow with this soul? How is it that I could find my way next to them? Find a commonality in our stories. So I love that symbol. So we may have lots of fears and insecurities, every one of us do, but they're not who we are. They're just experiences we're having. We're not our experiences, yes? We're just having an experience. We're not even our feelings. We might feel depressed or sad or afraid, but that's not who we are until we identify as that. We are having an experience of feeling afraid. We're so much more than that, and we get in trouble when we identify as the experience or the feeling. So these fears and insecurities are who we are not. The opposite side of our card of who we've come here to be. And when we act out of those fears, the conflict we experience is from being who we are not. The one who is afraid, alone, a misfit, doesn't belong, not good enough, inadequate, something wrong with me. That's the BS that lives in the mind. And so instead of responding to life from who we've come here to be, which is brilliant and creative and courageous and loving, We have been triggered to believe who we're not. And we are the ones that make that choice. The stimulus comes outside, yes, but it's just the stimulus. It's not the cause. We have a choice, and it comes from a long history from our past. So this is about revealing what needs to be revealed, heal what needs to be healed, so I could get on with being my divine self. Yes? Yes. I don't want to mess around with this life anymore. I don't want to project this uncomfortableness on one more soul. Help me, Spirit. Yeah. So I want to end with this story. And I love how it starts out. You will too, I think. Once upon a time. This is when we get out our blankets. So once upon a time, twin boys were conceived in the same womb. Weeks passed and the twins developed, and as their awareness grew, they laughed for joy. Isn't this great? We are conceived. Isn't it just great to be alive? Together, the twins explored their world, and when they found that their mother's cord that gave them life, they said, "Oh my gosh, she's so wonderful. How great is our mother's love that she shares her own life with us." So as the weeks stretched into months, the twins noticed how much each was changing. "So what does this mean?" asked the one. "Well, it means that our stay in this world is drawing to an end," said the other. "But I don't want to go," said the one. "I want to stay here, always." "We don't have a choice," said the other. "We will shed our life cord. And how is life possible without it? I don't know. Besides, we've seen evidence that others were here before us, and none of them have returned to tell that there is life after birth." And so the one fell into the deep despair of saying, if conception ends with birth, what's the purpose of life in the womb? It's meaningless. And maybe there is no mother at all. "But there has to be," protests the other. "How else did we get here? How do we remain alive?" The other says, "Have you ever seen our mother? Maybe she lives in our minds. Maybe she is made up. And maybe it just is to make us feel good." And so the last days in the womb were filled with deep questioning and fear. And finally, the moment arrives when the twins have passed from their world and they open their eyes and they cry, for what they see has exceeded their fondest dreams. This union with the one. And that's us, yes? We are birthed, we are reborn from above. And that we have been given all that we need. We have eyes that have not seen, ears that have not heard, nor has it much as dawned on people what God has prepared for those who love God, for those who dare awaken to this idea that there is no one and nothing against me, for those who take that on and realize and recognize their own divinity in the one presence and one power. Let us pray. Thank you, God, for this glorious moment, this beautiful ministry, and for each one here who has said yes to this embodiment, yes to, I am here to be the one, to awaken unto itself as the divine. I am here to be a non-anxious presence, to make the crooked places straight, to bring peace to earth, to bring love where there is hatred, to always swim and move to be above the line, so that I may support my humanity to do the same. Thank you, God, for this beautiful day. We are blessed and grateful, and so it is. Amen. Thank you so much. God bless.